Japan tool haul time. So this is a top 32mm adjustable wrench. This is the HT32. This is made in Japan. This is the thin jaw series. They make one that has bent jaws at a 10-degree angle. This is just the straight on version of that. I bought it because it was a pretty good deal, and because one of my viewers informed me that Top is actually the OEM for this Marvel adjustable wrench that I reviewed in a previous video. And you can see that they both have this anti-backlash feature in the adjustment screw. I also noticed that this feature that gets called out as protecting the knurling and protecting inadvertent adjustment on this isn't on this style of wrench here. So you can see how the knurled knob on this one is much more protected. You know, and this one is probably protected by the thickness of the head of the wrench, but they don't have this specific feature on this style. We've got this Fujiya Kyokin, we've got a Bako, and then the Marvel on the top. Well, that's the Fujiya. The Bako is one of the tightest adjustable wrenches that I have. Marvel is a little bit larger than that Bako, and I would say it's similar, maybe less play in the jaw. The play in the jaw on this top, I would say, is probably Top's. There's very little play in the jaw. It's definitely one of the best. So Top is the OEM for both of these. It isn't always easy to determine who's the OEM, because companies don't come right out and say, oh yeah, a different company manufactures this for us. So you kind of have to look for the clues. If we look at Top's website, we can see that they are a manufacturer and their main products are adjustable wrenches. If we look at the Marvel website, you can see that they are one of the leading manufacturers of high-quality electrician's tools. So I think it's factual that Marvel Corporation contracted with Top to manufacture the Marvel branded adjustable wrench. I enjoy learning things like that, so thank you to my viewers. So then we've got a new item from Tsunoda, and this is their staple remover. And they're specifically calling out the feature of staple remover. They even seem to have it right in the part number, STN 150, staple nipper, 150mm size. Here they're specifically calling out the feature that when you use this tool to remove staples, you're not going to chip the cutting edge. So let's take a closer look at the machining that they've done on the end of this. It is still a nipper. It seems like you can use this as a wire stripper, although I would use a much better wire stripper than this to strip wires. I damaged the copper a little bit there. I wouldn't use this as a wire stripper. And then you can use this to pry up those staples without damaging the cutting edge. On this style, it works pretty nice. All right, I like that. Here's the 3 peaks. Here's the famous Tsunoda cable tie nipper, and then we'll compare it to the staple remover, and you can see the differences. This one is kind of the standard starting point. This one, they did a little bit of extra grinding on that, and now this one you can see how they modified it further. By taking this heel off of this one is easier to pry with. Pretty interesting design on this. So these have a rounded flush cut, and on this one they left it flat. And then they left this part of it more blunt, probably to give it more strength. Very interesting new design on these classic style Japanese nippers. All right, then I've got a couple of items from NT Cutter. Both of these items are made in Japan. This NT cutter knife is the plastic handle. This one doesn't have a nice metal handle. It has the 30-degree blades for more precise work, more like an X-Acto knife style. So the slide on this is really nice and smooth. We can see that is stainless steel. Changing blades is done at the back by sliding this clip off. And we get access to the blade that way. And HH12P, this is a holder that's specifically designed for a whole range of NT cutters. Even though this knife is the AR30D SG, and even though it is not specifically listed here among the compatible items, it is definitely a perfect fit in this. Okay, so the loop on this is permanently riveted. There's no snap here. You can't open the loop. And the loop size is going to be about 45 to 50 millimeters, maybe 50 millimeters. All right, then we come to these very interesting, made in Japan by Mary Tools. These are cassette nippers. So their call out here is kind of interesting. They have a picture of a sailboat to indicate that this is for plastic model making. They have a picture of a sewing machine indicating that this is good for repairing electrical products. And I think one of the more obvious applications is this one, the jewelry making or the crafts. And as near as I can tell, these are all metal. Yeah, I don't see any lines on these handles from a mold or anything like that. Of course they, and of course they wouldn't leave anything like that on it anyway. They would sand and polish everything down, put a nice finish on it, just like they did. These are patented and made in Japan. So if you're just sitting at a bench doing a lot of tedious work like this, these offer a really nice alternative ergonomic solution. So for this size copper, it's kind of overpowered. It's not, it'll cut through it, but it's really difficult. It's just not made for anything this large. These are made for small, delicate work, more for this kind of stuff. You can see the opening here isn't very much. So that opening is actually adjustable back here. So if you're doing something very repetitious, you can keep the opening very small so that the amount of movement that your hand has to make over and over again is very small. Yeah, that's the maximum opening right there. So this doesn't even open up 4 millimeters. It's barely 3.5 millimeters. They feel high quality, like they're ready for lots and lots of repetitive use. So these two cassette nippers, the CNR55 and the CNF51, are the only two that I could find from Mary Tools in this line. If there are others in this product line, I'd be curious to know. These were a little hard to find. So then we come to this very curious looking, made in Japan by IPS, the PK190EX. This is a specialized tool for removing the plastic clips from greenhouses. They've got a roller on it that goes along the tube. Then you just use this to snap off those clips. So this is a specialized industrial greenhouse maintenance tool. It doesn't really go right down flush. You can see that the pick on the end doesn't ride flush with the ground. So to get underneath something flat, you got to tip it up like that, bring it down, and then rock it back. I mean, just how interesting that they took half of a pliers, machined it like this, and put wheels on the heel of it here like this. I just thought that was pretty interesting. And then I've been exploring the amazing world of Japanese fishing tackle. It's basically a trash receptacle. This is related to the fishing industry. You've got small items you need to dispose of, and you're somewhere where you're not supposed to be littering, and there is not a trash can available. You can dispose of those items in this. I'm guessing it's probably made in China. But this one, these things are kind of ubiquitous. There's lots of rebrands of this, lots of different colors. I got this one because this one is expandable. You know, this expandable feature is something I didn't see on many of them that I was looking at on Amazon. So this is probably a good segue for a teaser. Stay tuned because I'm exploring the amazing world of Japanese fishing tackle boxes. And stay tuned for a future video because I'm still exploring ways to use those Japanese tackle box items to store and carry tools. And I'm finding lots and lots of interesting crossover applications. And in this last tool purchase, I also bought all of the Star M bamboo bit half sizes, 10.5, 5.5, 9.5. You can see I also have a 16 and a 17. I basically filled out every single size bit that Star M offers in this series except one. The 11.5 millimeter will not ship to me. I have to use black ship. If we look at this handy inch to millimeter chart, I got this on the Tecton website. At 3 millimeters, you're under an eighth. So you can't really use 3 millimeters for anything that's an eighth of an inch. But if you go 3.5, you're just a hair over eighth, and that should be a fairly nice fit. 5 millimeters works great for 3/16. 6.5 gets you almost exactly 1/4 inch. You're just a little bit over 1/4 inch. 9.5 is almost right on at 3/8. So here in the USA, I'm thinking these half sizes are going to be pretty handy if I'm trying to make holes to put bolts in. So NT Cutter, we're all familiar with NT Cutter. NT Cutter makes this NT Dresser line. And apparently, these are primarily used in leatherworking, but they work on wood. And this is fine, this is medium. They make a coarse grit. I wanted to actually get examples of all the different coarseness and shapes. And I think I finally have all the representatives in this small series. So NT Cutter also makes these NT dressers that are not in their small series. And here we can see the callouts are kind of intending these for crafts, which makes sense. These, of course, are made in Japan. The handles on these are double-ended, so you could just buy one handle and then the other replacement this side, and you could have it, you could have it double-sided. It's more comfortable to hold on to it this way. So I got 2 of these. So those 2 are these items, but they have all these other different versions of these little dressing sanding tools. I've got all these now, but not in all of the grits. Just to show quickly that this NT Dresser line of tools is pretty expansive. Speaking of Black Ship, I have to give you this quick update. If you're using Black Ship, don't order levels. Don't order anything that's got a level bubble vial in it, because Black Ship won't ship it, and you'll be stuck trying to figure out how to return it to Amazon Japan. I don't even think Amazon Japan ships these levels to the United States anymore. For some reason, they recently classified the contents of these vials as a hazardous substance because it can contain ethanol. Okay, so the only way that I can think of to get Black Ship to ship these is if you can get the material safety data sheet on the contents of this vial that shows that it's not ethanol. I think you can get Black Ship to ship these. I certainly don't want to be responsible for leading my viewers into any frustrating buying experiences. I want all of this tool exploration to be as fun for you as it is for me. That's my whole point, I guess. And yes, thank you to my viewers that gave me a heads up on the new Wera products. I do have a bunch of items ordered from KCTOOL. I'll put links in the description of the items that I ordered, hoping that they arrive in time for a video next weekend on those new Wera items. If I don't get that video out next weekend, then it's going to be Japanese tackle boxes. So I'm anticipating 2 really fun videos in the next 2 weeks. If you like that, feed the algorithm for me. Stay tuned. You know how YouTube works. Any use of my affiliate links in the description below is greatly appreciated. And thank you for watching.